Hi, welcome to Gabs with Abigail, where we talk about the Bates and Duggars and other D-list fundies. As you can see from today's title, we will be catching up with some D-list fundies. This is going to be everybody from my first original video. If you haven't watched that, go ahead and watch that, but that is typically the video that most people get introduced to the channel through. If this is something that you're into, this kind of content you're interested in, please like, subscribe, and share. And without further ado, let's get right into the videos. All right, first and foremost, the Wallers, aka Anna Duggar's sister and brother-in-law, Priscilla and David Waller. I have a whole video about all of Anna's siblings. If you have not watched that, go ahead and get caught up. I will leave a link in the bio to that video. I want to say that even though Anna and Priscilla are related, Priscilla's thoughts, Priscilla is her own person. And so I don't want to say that just because she thinks something that means Anna also believes and thinks that way and behaves that way. But is it true that I don't think that Anna Duggar is in the house right now? Like, you know what? Critical race theory? Love it. Love it. Need that. My kids absolutely. That's exactly what my homeschooled kids need right now. They just found out that their father might not be the patriarchal God that everybody keeps promising he is or is gonna be. And then also we should teach them America is bad. Perfect. Love it. Like, I just can't see Anna being in the house saying that, which brings us back to the Wallers, who a couple days ago, maybe about a week, 2 weeks ago, had this post in which they went to a presentation, and from that presentation, they were able to conclude from a white Cuban who had to flee Cuba, his presentation, okay? So his individual testimony about why critical race theory is bad, they have been sold now that they reject critical race theory, and this is not something that they agree with. And I just want to point out, it's really weird. Smile, we're going to poison you with subtle racism. Like, I think it's so funny, like, this whole topic, that this is fear-mongering at its best, in that, one, all of these people homeschool their kids. This was never going to be something that you taught. Like, this is a very, very weird thing. And it's just, I think that to me is what's so interesting. A lot of them homeschool. A lot of them live in places with all white school boards. A lot of them have a history or are tied to white flight that occurred once integration started happening in city schools. I've said it once, I've said it twice, I'll say it a million times. There are several people who would have been outside of Ruby Bridges schools, who would have been outside the Little Rock Nine schools, okay? Who would have hated Brown Board of Education, who would have hated, okay? These are some people who would have been in the city of Boston fighting against the forced busing. And that you can't see that historical context, that this is just history, maybe not repeating, but rhyming, is just so funny to me, and just kind of proves the point of why you need to stop learning a watered down history. Because this idea that, even like for this particular post, right?
About. All they keep doing is changing the narrative. Critical race theory is culturally responsive framework, culturally responsive teaching. It's all just Trojan horses. Inequity and diversity and inclusion. Come on. One thing after another. So I would...
And it's like, oh my God, yeah. It's like you guys keep not learning anything. It's almost like we have all of these racial issues embedded into the foundations of our law. So this idea that we should just simply stop talking about it because then that makes it go away is really weird. And I mean, it also minimizes the experiences that Black kids have with white children in schools. Like, it would be weird to feel like kids don't experience racism anymore, and that we are in this super progressive post-racial society. Like, I mean, if you're a conservative, you're fighting against progressivism. So it's weird for you to act like that we have moved to this certain place thanks to your political party, that we've done enough and that we can stop. Like, it's strange to me. And I think also just this idea of what critical race theory has turned into in terms of a debate, in terms of a topic, just really kind of proves exactly the chokehold that white supremacy has on America. Because the fact that critical race theory is theory, meaning that this is very complicated and difficult legal jargon that had to be studied in order to get to produce even the theory, meaning the smartest people in the country created this. I don't even like to say created, but like have been working from this theory, and now it has been hijacked, right? The actual meaning, what it is, how to study it, has been hijacked, defined, whitewashed, and sanitized, regurgitated, and served back to white conservative America and said, oh my God, look how bad this disgusting thing is.
Critical race theory is not taught in elementary schools or middle schools or high schools. It's a method of examination taught in law school and in college that helps analyze whether systemic racism exists, and in particular, whether it has an effect on law and public policy. But culture warriors are labeling any discussion of race, racism, or discrimination as CRT to try to make it toxic. They are bullying teachers and trying to stop us from teaching students accurate history.
It has been co-opted by white people to serve the purpose of further dividing us. And I think it's so funny that the only time anything is ever divisive is when it's black people talking about white people, right? Oh my God. I'm like so triggered by my Mrs. Midwest video. The resistance to it is just an echo of every time any person who is black brings up race to white people. You don't want to hear it. We're past that. Why do we have to keep hearing it? Why do we have to keep hearing it? I don't think it occurs to most white people who are critical about this kind of thing, like, oh, why do we have to keep hearing it? At what point in American history do you feel like the majority of white people took the time, wanted to take the time to understand how they might be impacting black people? Like, at what point in American history do you feel like that the overwhelming majority felt that way? I want to know it. And if you're going to say like it was when Barack Obama became president, you was a liar. Because if that was true, then Donald Trump wouldn't have been elected after him. Like, baby, you was a liar. Okay, period, point blank. I say this all to say that I think I'm going to insert the quote and I'll read it over. But James Baldwin was correct in this, in my opinion. I really feel like this is why we have to keep hearing it from people. This pushback, this resistance, this determination not to do any research, not to do any actual heavy lifting with the reading of the materials, but to instead rely on your own personal emotional feelings about what this thing is because you're avoiding having to feel bad. Even just the idea of white guilt is so interesting to me. This idea that people are determined to make you feel guilty. Nobody wants to make you feel guilty. It's unfortunate that the history does. Fighting critical race theory under the guise that, oh, we don't need to teach racism and be teaching racism and our kids are less racist now is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because then why are we teaching any kind of history? Not all history is good. I mean, like, how can you teach the Civil War and not have an understanding of racism, though? Studies show that it gets done all the time in this country, but exactly how inappropriate that is. Like, there are just so many important factors within history where you have to talk about race, because this idea that you can just leave it out doesn't make any sense, because Black and white people were having very different experiences during the same time periods. Like the New Deal for white people and the New Deal for Black people during the 1930s Great Depression leading up to World War II, two very different experiences in America. Like two very different experiences. If you were Japanese during World War II, you could understand how your story does not relate to Molly in the American Girl books. And I love the American Girl books, so this is no shade to the American Girl line. But just how that in itself is so different. And to say that that doesn't matter, it matters even more for white kids sometimes than it does for Black kids, because that's the kind, when you think that every person in America is having that experience of this ideal, very white world, and if you as a white person are seeing that and seeing all of these, you're only ever seeing other white people, it doesn't mean that you ever think that there's just an absence of Black people, and that's problematic. I wonder what's going on in their life. You just assume that white is normal, that is the heteronormative, right? And that must be what everybody has going on. That's what must be what benefit and advantage that every single person in the country has going on, because this is America. And that's just objectively not true. The idea that you need to talk more about Black history and that history might not be pleasant for white people is weird. But now, in terms of the Wallers, the Rodriguezes, the Bates, the Duggars, all of these people who are going to reject critical race theory, I'm not surprised, because are we surprised that the trickle-down generation would like to receive their information this way as well? No. Are we surprised that people who thought Ronald greedy-ass Reagan is like the best president alive would reject critical race theory? Absolutely not. What foundations for understanding race have you been, and poverty and things like that, have you been given? So still no new baby. I feel like with Anna having just announced her 7th that we should be getting an announcement from them soon, but still we haven't had a new baby. In the interim though, at least we know that mom and dad are working to make sure that it is a friendlier and nicer world for white people for when that baby does in fact arrive. All right, the Rodriguezes. It's a boy. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Nurie Rodriguez and Nathan Keller, Anna Duggar's little brother and sister-in-law. Again, if you have not watched that video, I'm telling you, catch up. Mustards, okay? But our good sis is giving us a nephew. Tink. How much you guys want to bet that they name this baby Nathan Jr., okay? Like, or a biblical name. Like, it's going to be either or. I know it. But I'm trying to, like, get a vibe. Like, do you think it's going to be a Nathan Jr.? I don't know. I feel like firstborn son, Nurie seems the type. All of her brothers got biblical names. Like, all the Rodriguez sons got biblical names, and the daughters didn't. Jill was like, oh, no. I'm using my baby name list from when I was 13. God said so. But that's pretty much it for them. I'm really excited for them. You know, like I said, hope the baby's safe. Hope she's having a good pregnancy, healthy pregnancy. Yeah. While Nurie is about to make Janessa, age 3, an aunt for the first time, Brooklyn Duggar, age 4 months, just gained a new aunt. Yes, that's right, people. The Caldwells had their baby. Baby girl Caldwell, that's Mariah Faith to you, was born back in late or early May, I think mid-May actually. Very cute newborn. She actually kind of looks like, and this is gonna sound really, weird, but she kind of reminds me of Miley Cyrus's younger sister, Noah Cyrus. Excuse me, 2-time Grammy nominated. Yeah, which is a compliment, because I think Noah is cute, Mariah has the lips Noah is paying for. I feel like she could go down with the lips just a little bit. But yeah, super cute baby. I mean, could these two people make an ugly baby? Somebody in the confessions was like, they look like this is their first baby and they're like late 20s. Like, girl, late 20s, maybe early 30s. Like, let's not get crazy. Not y'all saying Mom Caldwell looks the same age as me. Like, she does. She looks good though. I like her hair here. Looks real pretty. But congrats to them. I feel like I had another announcement about them Okay, our tribe of many. I have not talked about them in a minute, so let's talk about them. They have a lot going on. I think biggest news is that they are having another baby. I think it's just so funny. Like my video literally was like, no, I think they're probably done. Like maybe, I don't know. And literally having baby number 11.
There's a big belly.
She's like more than halfway through now at this point with her pregnancy. I hope it's a boy so that Seth has a little brother. Excited for them. They used to be our tribe of 10. And then as they kept having babies, they were like, oh, okay, let's change it to our tribe of many. You know, kind of like how it was 16 kids and counting, 17 kids and counting, 18 kids and counting, 19 kids and counting, and then finally counting on. But, you know, without the scandal. Shout out to them for providing us with family wholesomeness. They also remodeled their kitchen recently. I'm actually not caught up with those videos. And they have, I think Sarah's cousin is like visiting them from somewhere. I'm so sorry, I'm really behind those videos.
Hey guys, Joe arrived. He drove here all the way from where he came from, California. Today, no, I think they drove over 2 days, him and my uncle. This is my cousin Joe.
What's up, everybody?
Solo tries to claim him.
It tries to claim him.
He's my cousin.
They're more like my aunt, uncle.
Yeah.
But they did just buy an RV, and it's a beautiful RV. Clearly they're in their bag right now. They built a pool last year. They got an RV this year. Things are up. Like, if it's up, then it's stuck. But yeah, that's pretty much it for them. Hoping, again, another person we got to wish a safe pregnancy, safe delivery, healthy baby for. And I wonder what's going to be their magic number of, like, this is how many kids we've got. Which brings us to our next person, who I'm wondering when they will announce another baby. Actually, this is not the next person. But yeah, that's pretty much it for them. Mrs. Midwest, the women I still continue to get hate comments about, calling me a racist, who hates white people, who hates white women. White women have no responsibility to black women, and I'm an ignorant person for suggesting that they do. I think it's so funny that, like, I can tell when people watch that video that they haven't watched the original intro for this topic, because it's like, oh, so you guys were, that bothered you, but when I called her and her husband a Nazi, all of a sudden that was okay. Like, it's always ironic to me, like, to have people calling me racist for talking about a white woman and bringing up race. That makes me a racist. So anyways, Mrs. Mamas has not posted anything on YouTube in still like 6 months now. And she made a video, or she posted on on Instagram, talking about how she's been away for a long time because she's trying to get into like the routine of having the baby, which, you know, realistic. I can understand that. In many ways, like I said before, and everybody said I was wrong for, YouTube is a hobby, something extra to do. Like, yes, of course, it is supposed to be for the supportive, feminine, conservative community. But at the same time, like, it's a hobby, right? So it's something to do when there was nothing else that you had to do, in my opinion, which there's nothing wrong with. You know what I mean? I think, in general, this is why she wanted to do the whole YouTube stay-at-home wife thing, is to get to have this time to get adjusted to having a baby and how that changes your life and that changes your routine without having any kind of pressure to perform. Like, she strikes me as somebody who's very type A, so I don't see why, you know, it's a big deal that she's taking all this time off to adjust to motherhood. I also think where I say it's a hobby and not an income is that, one, I'm sure that at some point last year, the year before, she was starting to out-earn her husband, period. Like, you're getting a consistent amount of like 70, 80, 60K of per video. She put out a lot of videos, and she has like 100, almost 200K subscribers on YouTube, right? But when you've chosen this patriarchal, you know, masculine, feminine role, that's rule number one. Word to Michelle Duggar, that you do not want to financially outstrip your husband, basically, like emasculate him that way by being the one who is the biggest breadwinner. So in a time now when you want to just take time off and just focus on your baby, you get to now make your husband again, you know, feel like that masculine provider because he is the only one bringing in the consistent income, and this is the lifestyle that she's wanted, and on purpose. So, it is what it is, and I don't mean to say that. I hope it doesn't come off negative. She has had like a couple of blog posts that she's done. They're about motherhood, so there's nothing like I could say about those. I mean, that's your experiences with motherhood right now. You talking about it? Fantastic. Okay, like that's literally it that I could say. She posted recently that she hasn't been posting so much on Instagram either because she has a lot going on in her personal life, and I have such a hard time believing that she has anything difficult that could be going on in her personal life, because everything is cheerful, everything is delightful, Disney princess energy. So I think it's interesting, like she's going to be sharing in a couple days what's been going on in her personal life. So I'm interested to see what that is that she's saying has been going on in her personal life, because why I can't think it's anything deeper than that is that from our knowledge, she doesn't have a relationship with her parents like that, but that's been long like rumored that she's like estranged from her family. And while I don't think that in any way does she owe the internet an explanation about her relationship with her parents or any other family member for that matter, which I think exactly why it's so interesting that people act like this is like their friend, this is their feminine family, this is their trad wife family. You don't know anything about this bitch. But anyway, I don't think that she necessarily owes us that explanation about her family, but it's because we see her a lot of times with like her mother-in-law, which I know her parents, I believe, live in Canada, so that could also, COVID and everything like that. But even beforehand, we never really got that glimpse into her personal family life. And again, she doesn't know us that, right? Mrs. Midwest is your online persona, and you're allowed to keep those people's life private so that they're not having to deal with scrutiny that they didn't ask for just because you're on the internet. Like, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But again, it's because, for me, like when you're used to part of the whole big family thing, strong families, like we always see Carlin at her in-laws, we always see them with her parents, same thing with like the Websters, same thing with like the Kellers, the Wallers. Like, it is important to honor and revere your parents, and that's not an aspect of Christianity. This big family trad wife thing, that's not something that they make a point of, which I think is very interesting. I can only assume, again, that's because she has a strained relationship with her parent. But I'm interested to see what it is. My money is on that there's something going on with the building of the house that probably isn't as horrible. So I want to talk about this post that Mrs. Midwest had, and this came up after I filmed this. And I want to say, yeah, I agree. There isn't, oh, not your husband. There isn't an exception. Fuck you and your pig husband. You know what kills me about cops, no pun intended, is the fact that they act like they don't sign up for this, and that if they don't do it, oh my God, it is going to be the end of the world. Police officers don't even prevent crime. Like, that's a false notion. It's statistically proven that they don't prevent crime, because obviously the most dangerous places are also the places that are most policed, and they continue to be dangerous. So either it's working or it's not. I also can't imagine being so delusional as to think that there are more instances of people just randomly going up to cops and shooting them, trying to kill them for the reason that they want to provide their own kind of vigilante justice, and thinking that that happens more often than unarmed people get killed by the police. Like, that's a very, very, very weird thing to think. And I'm saying weird because I don't want to be rude and call it stupid. Like, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. Oh my God, bitch, you are a Canadian. You're a Canadian. Yeah, I know you like to cosplay that you're from the Midwest, but you're a Canadian. Meaning you have no idea about any of the historical ties that the police have to communities and police brutality. Like, you have absolutely no notion of that outside of your husband. So the idea that you feel compelled to come and preach to us, bitch, save it. It's always white women who are immigrants that are problematic as fuck. I promise you, because the privilege means you don't need to learn anything. You don't have to deal with anything really heavy. It's almost like you're exotic. Like, I can't imagine per your 2 videos ago, still learning the abbreviations for states, trying to tell me, yes, all cops are bastards because you work for a corrupt and terrible system. You enforce the police state. Like, it's an awful, terrible thing. Like, and that doesn't mean that your husband and other cops can't be great people, can't be good people in their community, wonderful family men. They can be all of that and work terrible shit jobs. You could understand that a doctor who performs abortions might be a wonderful family person, a wonderful person in their community. Hell, they might even go to church, but they'd be working a terrible job to you, correct? Like, you'd have a lot of harsh words for that person, correct? Long story short, take this to Canada. What, Husbear can't ride a horse? Last but not least, Sierra Jo Dominguez. Mrs. Sierra Jo Dominguez, to you. Actually, to be honest, I never realized until I started covering all these people that the middle name Joe is a thing. I didn't realize that was a thing for like if it's a Southern thing, if this is a Southern Midwest thing. The South and the Midwest are like cousins, basically, especially when I think about like the migration patterns of Black people. That's how I think about it. Like, y'all basically family. Anyway, our favorite Joe, no, I'm kidding, but our favorite Joe recently started a pottery business. So proud of her, excited for her. She just started her pottery business, and I'm just say this all to say, like, I'm happy that she found something that was creative and an outlet for her, something that she gets to do for just her. And because I feel like we need to be more realistic about how having all of these kids and not taking on such a big part of your identity, you should get to have something outside of just raising and rearing children. And those things that you have outside of that also in turn will probably make you a better parent and better overall person. So I'm glad that she has that. I would love to maybe do a review for my channel of some of her products. I really kind of want a sticker. The stickers are cute. It was a confession accusing these stickers of being $15, and somebody ran to her page and like asked her that. Like, one, you could have just gone onto the website to check. Boo, you didn't have to go in her comments. And two, like, do you see how, that's what I mean about how those little those confessions on the confessions page are not harmless, and people should stop acting like just leaving comments under them, just making them, it's no big deal. Because look how you might have impacted her business if people really thought that, I want a sticker and it's $15, I'm not going to buy it because it's $15. Or just in general that she has to get a comment like that. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Like, just you could just go on her page. The same thing with the person who made the confession. It's nice. To me, it made me think a lot about like my video about Soli, which is that this is the problem with, I think this is what annoys people the most, is that like it's seemingly this trad wife thing is your only hobby. It's your only personal interest. And when so much of that is dedicated to bashing other people, looking down on other people. But anyways, why the pottery reminds me of Soli is because I feel like Sierra is a good example of this kind of like wonderful metamorphosis, constantly growing and changing. She still to this day had the reaction to the George Floyd situation that I had the most respect for, in that she was responsive to people's being angry. And I think that's a lot of like white people's problem, is they don't know how to respond to Black people's anger, which is that like, because majority of it is out of a place of like, y'all not listening. If you are combative and defensive about something, you're not taking the time to listen. You're taking the time to hear your own self in those problems about what somebody is saying to you. So I respect a lot that she took the time to listen. And in many ways, I feel like her and Jill kind of represent what I hope was on the other side of where Soli is in life in terms of your growth as a conservative and a trad wife. I don't know if I said this in the last video that she had COVID. She might have got it after I posted it, but yeah, she got COVID. That's all I'm gonna say about that. She caught it, she beat it. I wonder if she's having any lingering symptoms. That's my biggest question. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me, guys. So I think we're caught up with everybody. That's what they got going on right now. And yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Bye.
It's like, you niggas gotta stop acting weird. You niggas gotta stop acting weird. You niggas gotta stop.